Chapter 1. The Calm. Randall Cox had spent 15 years training Delta Force operators to neutralize threats in tight quarters. Now, at 42, he ran Virginia's most successful tactical training outfit, Cox Defense Solutions. The converted warehouse contained everything from shoot houses to close-quarters combat rooms, and his customers ranged from police agencies to private security firms. His marriage to Mariana Cox, however, was a different battlefield, one he'd been losing for 3 years. "You're never home," Mariana said one Tuesday night, her tone flat as she scrolled her phone at the dinner table. She barely touched the pasta Randall had cooked. "Always at that gym with your military buddies." "It's not a gym, Mari. It's a training facility. Those buddies are my instructors and clients," Randall said, keeping his voice calm. He'd learned long ago that raising his voice never helped. "We're up 30% this quarter. The DoD contract alone. I don't care about contracts." She set the phone down, and for a second Randall saw something in her eyes that wasn't anger so much as something colder. "I care that I'm married to a ghost." He studied her. She'd changed her hair again. Lighter, more expensive looking, and there was new jewelry he hadn't bought, a diamond tennis bracelet. He'd noticed these things over 6 months and chosen to accept Mariana's explanation. Her uncle Salvador Harrell had been generous. Salvador had reappeared 2 years earlier after 10 years in prison for racketeering. Mariana was thrilled to reconnect with her mother's brother. Randall had been wary but polite. Now Salvador was everywhere. Sunday dinners, late calls, private conversations that stopped when Randall came into a room. "Your uncle called 3 times today," Randall said. "Everything okay?" Mariana's face set. "He's family. He's allowed to call." She stood up abruptly. "I'm going to bed. Don't wake me when you come up." After she left, the house they'd bought 5 years earlier felt suddenly foreign. Randall opened the Cox Defense Security app. Everything was quiet. Elias Austin, his night instructor and fellow ex-Delta, was supposed to lock up at 10. A small nod of unease, the kind he'd learned to trust in Fallujah and Kandahar, told him to look closer. He checked the business accounts on his laptop. Numbers looked normal, but normal wasn't reassurance. Chapter 2. The Revelation. Randall couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., he was in his home office organizing papers when he remembered Mariana's recent interest in the business. She'd asked to be added to accounts in case something happened to him. He'd agreed. Now the withdrawal pattern stood out. Small sums, crafted to avoid alerts, but consistent, 50,000 over 6 months, taken in increments just below reporting thresholds. His phone pinged a motion alert from the facility. He opened the camera feeds and saw Salvador's silver Mercedes in the lot at 2:17 a.m. The man stood outside making a call. Randall texted Elias. "Did you give Salvador Harrell a key?" Elias answered fast. "Hell no." "Why?" "He's at the facility right now." "Wanted to come back." "No, I'm handling it." Randall drove to Cox Defense. Salvador's car was gone on arrival. The locks showed no forced entry, but Randall didn't leap to comfort. He scoured cameras and corners and in his office found a professional-grade keylogger behind his computer. Someone wanted access to his accounts and communications. He left it in place. If they wanted info, he'd let them find what he allowed. Back home at 4 a.m., he found Mariana's phone charging in the kitchen. He knew her passcode, her birthday, and unlocked it with only a moment's hesitation. The message thread with Salvador ran months deep. His fingers were steady as he read messages that fractured his world. Discussions about making the business disappear, references to life insurance worth $2 million. Plans to make the facility look like a robbery gone wrong so Mariana could be the grieving widow, and arrangements for men who specialize in this. Then a message schedule. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. I'm sending 5 guys, professionals. What do I do? Make sure you're not home. Go to your sister's. Stay there until I call. Will it hurt? You care? No, I just want my part in cash only. No traces. It was Thursday, less than 2 hours away. Randall froze, then slid into the familiar cold clarity of threat assessment and mission planning. He opened the real safe, hidden behind a false wall in his basement workshop, and pulled out documents, weapons, and a phone link to his old team. He sent 3 messages. To Elias, code red. Need you at the facility. 5 a.m. Come armed. To Derek Giles in Richmond. Hostile action against me at Cox Defense. 6 a.m. Need backup. To Douglas Short, a federal marshal. Attempted murder for hire. Come to Cox Defense with arrest warrants at 7 a.m. All three replied within minutes. Delta brothers didn't question a call for help. Over the next hour Randall prepared. He studied every camera, every entry point. The building's design, built to control movement and create fatal funnels, meant defenders could dominate movement. He moved weapons into place, staged medical gear, and set recording devices. Whatever unfolded, it would be captured and documented. At 4:30 a.m. he left the house. Mariana still slept. The 15-minute drive to the facility found it dark and exactly as it should be. He went inside and began to convert training spaces into a defensive setup. Chapter 3. The Preparation. Elias arrived at 5:03 a.m., tactical bag in hand, moving with the practiced confidence of a man who'd done this before. 45, built like a linebacker with gray at the temples, he took Randall's phone and read the screenshots in silence. "Your wife?" he asked. "My wife," Randall confirmed. "Salvador Harrell." Elias swore softly. Salvador had ties to the Sinaloa distribution network in Virginia. The men he'd hire wouldn't be amateurs. Good. Neither would Randall and his friends be. Derek Giles arrived 10 minutes later with two contractors, Ricky Melton and Otis Lozano, both ex-Marines. Derek, a former Delta himself, asked bluntly, "We doing this legal or off-book?" Randall, "Legal. Douglas is coming with warrants at 7. We document everything." They moved efficiently, turning the main training floor into a containment zone, not to kill but to control and capture. Motion sensors were placed at both entrances, spotlights positioned, non-lethal tools staged, flashbangs, pepper spray, tasers. Ricky prepared the gear. Randall insisted that if the intruders came with intent to kill, they'd respond appropriately, but he wanted prisoners and testimony, not bodies. Positions were set. Randall in the upper observation room, Elias and Derek behind ballistic barriers at the main entrance, Ricky and Otis covering back doors and side windows. At 5:55 a.m., Randall called Douglas. "They'll be here soon. Park 2 blocks away. Move when you hear the signal." At 6:04 a white panel van with no plates rolled into the lot. 5 tangos, as expected, professionals wearing body armor and carrying weapons. A scout checked the perimeter, signaled clear, and 4 men stacked at the front. The leader's pattern and gear marked them as military-trained contractors. Salvador had made it personal. They entered. The front door, unlocked, just as Randall had left it, allowed them inside within seconds. Randall waited until every camera angle was rolling, then said, "Now." Spotlights flared to blind, flashbangs detonated, and the 5 intruders stumbled into disorientation. Derek's voice boomed over the PA, "You are surrounded by law enforcement and private security. Weapons down or we will engage." 2 intruders tried to fight. Shots rang out but were wild and blind. Elias tased one. Ricky tackled another. Randall moved like a shadow, descending from the observation room with precise economy. He closed inside the leader's defense in a heartbeat, an elbow to the temple, a joint lock, the gun clattering, and the leader was on the floor with Randall's knee on his spine. "Don't move," Randall said quietly. "I've been teaching people like you how to kill for 15 years. Don't make me teach you the lesson." 6 minutes and 32 seconds after entry, all 5 intruders were zip-tied and disarmed, face down on the training floor. No defender shots. 0 casualties. Textbook. Douglas Short arrived with 3 deputy marshals at 6:14 a.m., badges visible. Randall Cox. Douglas asked for the recording. "We received a tip about a murder for hire plot." "Perfect timing," Randall replied. "These 5 men tried to kill me. They're armed with unlicensed weapons, broke into my facility with intent to kill, and I have video evidence. I also have proof linking them to Salvador Harrell and my wife, Mariana Cox, in a conspiracy to have me killed." The leader, spat blood, defiant, named Salvador Harrell as the payer. "Thought it'd be a clean job. Soft target, easy money," he sneered, then added a grudging respect. "You ain't soft." "No," Randall said, "I'm not." As marshals loaded the attackers for transport, Derek slapped Randall's shoulder. "Brother, that was beautiful. Textbook defensive op." Randall's face hardened. "It's not over," he said, pulling out his phone. He called Mariana. She answered groggily, irritated. "What? It's done," Randall said flatly. "You should come home. We need to talk." He hung up before she could reply. Elias watched Randall with concern. "You okay, Ran?" "No," Randall admitted, "but I will be." Chapter 4. The Interrogation. Mariana arrived home at 7:45 a.m. Her face showed practiced concern that would have worked if Randall didn't already know the truth. She rushed in, talking. "Randall, what happened? Are you hurt?" Then she froze at the sight of Randall seated calmly at the kitchen table with Douglas Short standing beside him in uniform. Douglas spoke formally. "Mrs. Cox, please have a seat." The color left her face. "What's going on?" she asked. "5 men tried to kill me this morning," Randall said, voice flat. "At 6 a.m., exactly when your uncle said they would, at my facility, exactly where you told him I'd be." Her mouth opened and closed. I don't understand." "Don't," Randall said, cutting her off. "I have your texts with Salvador, the keylogger in my office, the bank withdrawals, the camera footage. You're under arrest." Douglas produced handcuffs. "Mariana Cox, you're charged with conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and violations of federal racketeering statutes. You have the right to remain silent." As Douglas read, Mariana's composure crumbled. "Randall, please, we can work this out. I never wanted you dead. It was Salvador's idea. He manipulated me." Randall's face went cold. "Do you remember asking if it would hurt? And when he asked if you cared, you said no. You said you just wanted your part in cash." Tears flowed. Randall felt nothing. The woman he'd married had become a stranger wearing her face. "You'll never prove," she began. "I have everything," Randall cut in. "The texts, the calls, the 5 who just gave statements implicating you and Salvador for reduced sentences. The FBI is at Salvador's house right now. It's over," she screamed, in fury and frustration. "You were supposed to be dead. This was supposed to be easy." Randall replied quietly, "I trained those professionals. Or men better than them. Did you really think I'd soften because I wasn't kicking doors in anymore?" Douglas led Mariana away, still yelling threats. Randall stayed alone in the now silent house and let the exhaustion hit, not just betrayal, but bone-deep tiredness. His phone rang. Clement Joseph, a federal prosecutor Randall had worked with on military contractor cases. "Mr. Cox, we're building a RICO case on Salvador Harrell," Clement said. "Your wife's involvement gives us leverage. We'd like to offer her a plea for testimony." Randall said no immediately. "She conspired to have me killed for money. She wasn't coerced. She was greedy. Let her face the full weight." Clement paused. "The 5 attackers are talking. Harold hired them through an intermediary, Robbie Galvin. We can roll up the organization if we move fast. But your wife's testimony would make it airtight." Randall stood his ground. "Find another way. I'm not giving her an escape route." After the call, Randall walked through the house where every room now felt poisoned with memory. The kitchen of feigned care, the bedroom where she had slept while plotting his murder, the living room where Salvador had sat as family while scheming to steal everything. He packed a bag and decided he'd stay at the facility until he figured his next move. The house was done. Derek texted. "News vans at the facility. Stories breaking. You might want to prepare a statement," he wrote. "Perfect. Just perfect." Chapter 5. The Media Storm. By noon, Cox Defense Solutions was ringed with reporters. The story had every headline editors loved. Military trainer, murder for hire, dramatic takedown. Randall watched the circus from his office while Elias fielded calls. "Channel 7 wants an exclusive," Elias said. "The Post and CNN are asking." "No interviews," Randall said. "We issue a lawyered statement and nothing more." "Ran, the optics are incredible. You're the hero, the wronged husband who defended himself. Great PR. I'm not interested in PR, Randall replied. "I want Mariana and Salvador locked up for life." His lawyer, Garrett Paul, arrived with a measured statement stressing cooperation and justice without compromising prosecution. Meanwhile, the FBI raid on Salvador's compound revealed a vast criminal network: weapons trafficking, drugs, money laundering. Salvador had planned to fold Randall's legitimate business into a laundering scheme once he'd seized control. At 3 p.m., someone unexpected came to see Randall, Victoria McDowell, Salvador's ex-wife.